Hi, Richard Moore here from 8 Step Startup. I hope you're having a great day, and I wanted to talk about recruitment today. I've been keep getting asked these kind of questions about how to hire for a team, what I do when I hire. My first management job was probably about, it would have been 11 years ago when I started building sales teams, and pretty much have done it since then, but I've built teams for other types of role as well. To kind of answer the question directly that I was asked today, which was what characteristics or traits do you look for in people when you hire, the two things I always look for, it's very difficult to test because they're not cut and dry, like have you got a degree or have you got whatever qualification, but typically people who I'm going to get to work with me, I look for intelligence and I also look for loyalty. Now, intelligence means on the ground that actually you don't need to spend a lot of time going over the same thing again and again, because what typically happens with people with intelligence is they just get it, and then you don't have to say, this is the 6th time now, I have to tell you again. People with intelligence see the world on a higher level, and I tend to find that people with intelligence are able to think laterally or innovatively about problems. And the greatest breath of fresh air for someone who has a team is when the people who work for them in that team come up with new ideas, rather than always the person at the helm coming up with the the way that their day is going to go. So I had this once, one guy who I remember coming up to me, it was just something simple. He said, I've changed the way I've done this spreadsheet. Look, can you see how it's more efficient? And it was wonderful to see someone coming up with a different idea themselves. Intelligence also means that you're packing people around you who are going to push you and challenge you on a higher level, and nothing beats being in terms of kind of your mind stimulating yourself every day, knowing that you have to be on your toes because you get asked things that are probing and challenging, not because people are being difficult, but purely because people want to try and understand things in more of a higher way, or perhaps they have ideas they want to kind of shoot with you. People lacking intelligence, the problem with them is that you end up with one-way dialogue. They just say yes and that's it, really. So the second thing is loyalty. I mean, I can go on forever about intelligence because it bleeds into so many other things. But with loyalty, what you need, it's not about if someone's going to leave you and go and work with someone else or not, because the reality is anyone would leave your domain if you don't look after them. So that's something in your control, okay? People leave you when you don't offer them enough stimulation or challenge. Having said that, you should always, if you are recruiting, you should always be clear that people have sometimes got their own agendas, and sometimes you're right for them, and then after some time you're just not right for them anymore, and you know what, it's just the best thing for them to move on. And that doesn't mean it has to be any hard feelings. It just could be that their world's in a different, turning in a different direction to yours at that time, and you just got to let them go. So never think that someone will always work with you forever. What I mean by loyalty is someone who buys into you and buys into your ideas and buys into your kind of vision and ethos, and then wants to live that as well. So really, you can breed loyalty in people from having a real passion about what it is you do, because if you can exude deep passion about what you care about, then that's actually very infectious. And so if something's infectious, then it means that the person you're speaking to or conveying your ideas to starts feeling that as well. And that's how you have meetings, for instance, where they leave saying, I just can't wait to start, and people say, you're so inspirational, I can't wait to do some more work with you. The loyalty comes from being so stimulated by what you're challenging this person with that they just don't want to be anywhere else. And when you stimulate people in the right way, I'm talking about cerebrally, or perhaps in other ways, depending on what your business might be, or it might be that you're challenging them in terms of targets and things like that. Some people respond to that kind of thing. Maybe you're challenging them in terms of some pressure. But when you push people's buttons in the right way, they don't want to be anywhere else but in your space. And that's how you get, not that it's something I necessarily condone, but that's how you get people, and I've had this so many times in the past, where they're like, do you have a key to the office so I could just go in on a weekend? I just want to do a bit more. Or they're calling you late at night and they're just, the phrase I use is they're running through walls for you. They'll do anything for you, but actually what it is they're actually doing it for themselves. You're the enabler, you're the person who's providing or instigating this deep stimulation, because you're assigning this person work that they're really into. What you've got to therefore do, especially because I'm talking now to startup business owners, what you've got to think about is the agility of your business is one thing, but you should also recognize the importance of agility with how you assign people roles. You don't need to think in black and white when it's a startup business. You need to wear all hats when you're doing it on your own. And when you get someone in, do you know what? It might be that you think together that actually a sales role or perhaps a marketing role or whatever is best for them. But it seems over time that that would evolve into something else. And the loyalty, if you really, if you want people who are gonna build themselves around you and sing your song, the loyalty comes from identifying that, do you know what, this person's perhaps not quite well fitted for this particular role, but I could totally see him somewhere else. So constantly look at your people and ask yourselves, well, where would they be best placed? How are they doing right now? And just because they're doing a good job, it doesn't mean they're perfect for the job, because how are they feeling? Are they really enjoying this? Just ask them sometimes, and being open with people is a good way to just have that kind of culture. And I find that you've got it right when you just think to yourself, this person's not really going for it. Perhaps instead of trying to juice up the same role, I give them this other thing that would really play to their strengths. Then suddenly they're like, oh, this is brilliant. It really gets me going. So just bear that in mind. That's difficult to test, right? If you're interviewing. So a good way to work with people is having some kind of a trial. Work with them for a bit. I like the approach of recruiting from clients. It's something someone once told me worked for them as well. And it's a great idea, because if you recruit from clients, well, isn't that someone who's already sold on your ideas? Isn't that someone who you spent time with originally selling your product to? And they're like, yeah, I like that, I want to buy it. And if they're sold on it sufficiently, they want to spend money on it and spend time with your product, whatever it might be, then perhaps they're going to be a good evangelist for what you're selling on your side as well. And then suddenly, not only have they got a product of yours that they deeply are bought into, but now they can make money off it because they're going to be working in your space as well. Anyway, there's loads more I can talk about. Keep those questions coming, because I worked for a couple of years in the recruitment space and we did some great work there. But if you've got any other questions in that space, I'm happy to answer them. But hope that helps. Loyalty and intelligence, two massive things. You know what? Everything else you can train. I've got some of the best salespeople I've worked with on my teams. They've got zero experience in sales, but what I had from the start was that platform that I could work with. So hope that helps, and I'll speak to you again very soon.